So I get a phone call from a guest, one of our Airbnb guests. They're like, your property's disgusting. I want a full refund. However, I knew that they were lying. My name's Russell Leeds.
And I'm Anna Leeds.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. So, yeah, this was a really interesting call and quite a few interesting lessons I've drawn from it as well. So I get this phone call from the guest. Property disgusting. I knew they were lying. This is how I knew they were lying. So as soon as the call came in, at first I didn't know. And I was genuinely
shocked.
Yeah. Listen, it occasionally happens. I remember once before I had a guest that checked in, similar phone call, and the cleaner had forgotten to go in and clean.
And I've actually been where we've been the guests, and that has happened, and we've arrived.
It's been left how it was the day before. Yeah, and that is what I thought maybe had happened this time, right? So the guest rings me up, really angry. So I'm really apologetic. And I'd say the first thing is, if any customer rings you to complain, you want to be very apologetic, very understanding. You don't have to admit fault necessarily, but I was basically like, I'm really, really sorry to hear that. Let me investigate it and I'll find out what's gone wrong. Let me get in touch with the cleaner. I'm super sorry. Tell me what happened. And they were like, we've got here. And I was just very understanding, listened to them, because I didn't know at this point if it's true or not.
Yeah.
So I reached out to the cleaner and I said to the cleaner, just had this guest and they've complained and they've said, it's disgusting, blah, blah, blah. And they said, well, we've actually obviously been in and cleaned it. I said, well, they're saying that you do. They said, well, a little thing that we do, because this does happen more often than you'd think. Once we finish the clean, we go around and we film the property. It only takes us 60 seconds. We go around, we film the property, and we just keep it on file. So that if this ever happens, we've got evidence. Let me send you over the footage. So they send me over the footage, and of course, house is spotless, totally clean. She starts in the toilet, and you can see it's all been bleached, and she goes around the kitchen. It's perfect. So I'm like, how am I going to go about this now? So I send the message to the...
Just drop them the videos.
Yeah, because it's possible still at this stage that the cleaner's lying. Someone's lying.
Yeah.
But it's possible that's a video from last week, for all I know. Do you know what I mean? The cleaner's lying.
But don't videos have dates on them? Like on your phone, they've got
they
the date.
They would on theirs, but they sent it me. I don't have a date on it. So they could evidence it if they went on and showed the date and whatever. But at this stage, I'm assuming the cleaner's telling the truth. What I'm saying is, I now know for sure...
Someone's lying.
If I was Sherlock Holmes trying to figure it out, I know someone's lying.
Yeah.
I'm assuming now it's the guest, right? So I send it over to them, and then I gave them a call. I said, hi, I've just sent you over a message from the cleaner. They've assured me that it has been cleaned. They've sent me a video from this morning showing it's been cleaned. Have you watched the video? And they were like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Forget it. It's not a problem. Whatever. We'll just live with how it is. And I'm like, oh, really? So a minute ago, it was so disgusting that you wanted a full refund. And now you're just going to, oh, you know what? We'll just live with how it is. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on now. I knew they were lying.
Some people, right ones, aren't they?
Some people do try it on. Some people will create fake complaints to try and get their money back. Now, I posted this story on LinkedIn. If you're enjoying the show, could you do me a real favor? Hit the subscribe button. Over 76% of viewers aren't subscribed to the channel. Honestly, it makes a massive difference to the channel. It's free for you, but it really helps us to keep doing this. And a lot of people were very impressed with the idea of this 60-second hack, getting your cleaner to do it for 60 seconds, could save you thousands in refunds.
Yeah.
Literally, because if I just refunded them and gone, okay, I'm really sorry, or even a partial refund.
Yeah, just jump to the decision that they were telling the truth. Oh my gosh, so sorry, we'll get another cleaner to come in.
I mean, we own 2 hotels, right? Yeah. So imagine and they're apart hotels. We're not there on site. We can't check. Yeah. There's a little bit of trust going on here. So if you've got an apart hotel, I mean, just if it happened once a year per room, we've got, it would be happening to us every week.
Yeah.
We'd be getting one of our properties, one of our rooms. Someone would be saying this.
Trying it on
once a year per room, and that's so. And it probably happens more than that. So it doesn't happen like a lot, but if you've scaled and got a lot of units, this could really hit you. So getting your cleaner, this is just a little hack. but it's a hack that's going to save you an absolute fortune. So some of the comments that I had, people talking about it.
And it also saves you because, like you say, the cleaner could actually be lying as well. So
It protects
saves you,
the cleaner.
Yeah, because if the cleaner thought, oh no, I did forget, I'll just say I did. Like on what, and then you might actually be getting screwed over by your cleaner.
Yeah. Exactly. It also it allows you to go straight in knowing all the facts.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with a complaint, because you always want to take the customer's side.
Yeah.
There's nothing more annoying when you're a customer than when there's a genuine problem and when you ring up to make the complaint or you write in to make the complaint and they argue with you.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, I'm the customer here.
Also,
I've experienced this.
You go from being a bit annoyed to absolutely furious when that happens. And then you just think, that is it. And then you're even more annoyed than you were in the beginning.
Yeah. I'd be interested actually, because obviously there'll be a lot of people listening to this. Have you ever had guests complain about the cleanliness where you're not sure if they're lying or telling the truth? Or you do know. But if you've had guests complain about the cleanliness of your property, let me know in the chat. I'd be very interested.
Yeah, because you could have people that clean it themselves and then they get it and they know full well that it's clean because they cleaned it.
But then even then you might say,
you might not have
did I miss?
Yeah.
Did I miss something?
But what I'm saying, even in that situation, without the evidence, you're just still saying to the person, no, I did. I came in and cleaned it. Like, but if you can actually, it's hard for them to argue against video evidence, isn't it? You just saying, no, I know for certain because I cleaned it. They can still argue. But if it's like, no, here's the video evidence of it being really super clean, dated this morning.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing they can say, is there? They're just like...
And because in fact, so Shane Wilk commented on it when I shared the story. He said, good on you for building a system that has integrity, but also backed up with documentation. Documentation is key. I so agree with that. Like if you want to document everything, because like you say, even if you're the cleaner and you know full well that you did it, if you can't document that, if you can't prove it, what about if they go above your head to Airbnb or Booking.com?
Yeah.
Now, I've personally never had that.
No.
I've never had a guest complain, go above my head, but I've heard of people that have.
And I do think Booking.com and Airbnb are very quick to refund, aren't they?
Very quick to refund, very quick to penalise you. Do you remember Tim telling us... one of our mentors that works with us, he was telling us the story of his property in Station Road.
Yeah.
And the guest one of their kids wet the bed or whatever.
Oh, yes.
And they claimed that it was like that when they arrived.
Yeah.
Reported them to Booking.com. And they couldn't, I can't remember how they knew, but they knew it wasn't... because I don't know how they knew, but they knew that it was the guest that had done it.
Yeah.
But they couldn't prove it. And Booking.com sided with the guest and suspended their account.
Yeah, that's crazy. And they did that because they were embarrassed that their child or somebody had wet the bed. Because they got there, didn't they? And like, they cleaned it up. So the sheets were like in the bin outside and things. And they were like...
That was it. And then they were like, oh, the place smells of wee. That was it. They said the place smells of wee. It's disgusting. But then when they got there, there's bags and all. That was it. They had towels missing. The cleaner was like, there's towels missing, and then they found them dumped in a bag out there, and it was like
where they'd mopped up wee and stuff. Yeah, and it was like, so that clearly was just you then. But yeah, Booking.com sided with them, didn't they?
Yeah. And that's another interesting.
Crazy.
Someone commented on that as well, actually. So Andy Osborne said Airbnb and Booking.com have created this problem by siding with the guest every time. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I suppose Airbnb kind of see they're one side of their customers, which I kind of get, but we're their customers as well. We're the ones that are putting our properties on. From Airbnb and Booking.com's customers, who is the customer? Is it the people booking through their platform, or is it the hosts?
Yeah. Who do they see as more important?
Well, I know the answer.
Clientele, the guests.
The guests, but why should they? Should they see the guests as more important, or should they see... Because we're their customers.
Yeah.
We're the ones that are...
actually making them the money.
Yeah. Without us, without hosts...
they wouldn't make any money.
No.
Because they haven't actually got the properties. We have. They need us for the properties to rent out.
Do you know what it is, though? It's that they've become so powerful.
Yeah. It's a bit like when
An individual landlord they don't need.
No.
You'd almost need all the...
But then again, an individual guest they don't need.
They don't, but I'm not going to go and leave Airbnb a bad review, am I, probably, as a host, whereas the guest might.
True.
But I know what you mean. That is true. I think the only way you'd be more powerful is if you teamed up. See, individually, Airbnb are much more important. They don't need Russell Leeds. They're Airbnb.
Or do you think it's because they think the landlords care less about the money? So if you've got loads of properties on booking.com and then they say, no, you're not getting that 200 quid, but you're still getting a big sum of money, you might be less likely to moan than if you're just an individual guest that wants your £200 back. And if they say no, you might try and take them to court. And do you think the landlords will be less likely to go after them and complain than the guests would? Because you know what some people are like, just will do anything to get that 200 quid back. And do you think they think it's easier to penalise the landlords because they put up less of a fight?
Maybe.
I reckon that's probably it.
Maybe. The only way the landlords will be able to switch the power is if they clubbed up. Because like I was just saying, Airbnb are much more powerful than Russell Leeds. But if all... Do you know, it's a bit like workers, isn't it, for a company where they treat the workers bad. All right, leave them, mate. But when the workers team up and go on strike...
Yeah.
All of a sudden the power shift changes.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to change it, if we wanted to change the way Airbnb and Booking.com go, as Airbnb operators, we'd have to all team up and say we're not
tolerating it.
We're gonna block off our calendars until you change it, all of us.
Yeah.
On Airbnb. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, we're all gonna just use Booking.com.
Although they're just as bad.
But you could do it against one, and then once they change, then go back to them and go, actually, now Booking.com, we're all just using Airbnb.
It would take a big effort.
It would. This is an interesting one from a guy called Jason. I always have a greeter, and after 2 hours, do a satisfaction check. The same way restaurants ask if everything is okay partway through your meal. It's not because they care if it's... No, hang on.
It's not because they care.
It's to ensure there are no non-payment excuses. I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, I don't think he means a greeter in person. I think he means a phone call.
Oh.
So I don't think he means rocking up at the house. So basically, 2 hours after they check in, give them a call. Just check everything's okay.
Okay, that's not too bad.
I think that's a great idea.
Because I'm not a fan of the ones where the people are there. It just annoys me. Like, hello, I've got you a basket of apples. I just live down the road. Oh, I'm here to just check your every move. I personally, and I know in one way it's great, and they teach you how to put the TV on. But I've just been travelling, and the last thing I want to do now when I'm checking into my Airbnb is making some kind of shitty little small talk with the Airbnb host that's over precious about their little home that they're renting out. Don't mess with this, don't do this, shall I tell you about the local area? No, I just want to get into my Airbnb and I want you to piss off.
I actually think Jason's idea is
I'm not passionate about it or anything.
No, I think it's a brilliant idea.
Do you?
Listen, think about it.
A phone call, yeah. But when I read that, I thought he meant someone knocked on the door because he said, like, partway through me, hello, is everything okay? That also pisses me off, though.
Even a text, though. It doesn't even have to be a phone call. I think a phone call would... I think a text would be even better, actually. So just drop... Because your phone call is a little bit intrusive. They might not answer. If you drop them a text 2 hours after they were due to check in and said, hey, it's Russell here, your host. I just wanted to make sure you'd settled in. Is there anything else that we can do?
But another way, though... Would it ask for complaints? Because do you know when you check in, but there's a little something.
It would ask for complaints.
And you'd think, oh, but I'm not going to say anything. But then suddenly when you get a phone call, oh, is there anything wrong? Then I'll be like, yeah, actually.
Yeah, good.
Do you think?
Oh, mate, I want to know. If there's a problem, otherwise what's going to happen? They're going to not say anything.
But people have silly complaints. Like they'll be like, yes, there was no biscuits and I thought there would be biscuits when I arrived and I thought there might be milk in the fridge and
Great, let them get it off their chest.
Lots of silly little things though.
They're either going to tell you now or they're going to tell you in the reviews.
Do you think though? But
Yes.
I feel like when you ask for complaints, people try and think
You're not
some
asking
up.
for complaints. Look at what he said. It's a satisfaction check. It's like when someone comes over and says, "Is everything okay with your food?"
Yeah, I know. Like in Nando's.
Like everywhere. They
I
always
actually
come
find
over.
it really annoying. I don't know why.
I tell you what, you
I
find it
kind
annoying.
of feel like I'll inform you if there's a problem. Just say.
Yeah, but you don't know, do you? What actually happens is this: you sit there and you go, "Oh, this chicken. Oh, it's terrible. Oh, I don't want to eat this. Everything okay food? Lovely, thank you." That's
Yeah,
what you actually do.
that is true. There's been times where you're literally bitching about it, and then they come over. And you're, all great over here. Yes.
I literally think I'm getting food poisoning as I speak. Everything okay with your food? Oh, it's delightful.
That actually happened to us, didn't it? Literally, like a week and a half ago on
Other
holiday.
than we didn't know that we were getting food poisoning, but we did all have. Well, you did. I had a bit of a dicky tummy.
I've only just got recovered from a week ago, but we did feel the food wasn't that great, and we were eating it, and I thought, "Oh, this chicken's a bit dry," and then they came over, and we were like, "Oh, lovely, best burger I've ever tried," and then the next day I was thrown up like no person's business for the.
I think it was your sneaky way of not putting on weight on holiday.
I think it might have been.
It's like, I'm going to do. I'm going to eat really Michelin star restaurants all week. Last day,
Some dodgy little burger place.
Go to a dodgy little burger place, lose all the weight I put on, problem solved.
Well, it worked. Came back £2 lighter than I started.
But I genuinely think that is a fabulous tip because I think it nips complaints in the bud.
Yes, it's very hard to afterwards complain, isn't it? Because it was like, well, we rang and...
And this is something that you didn't notice at the time. Like, for example, let's say you checked in and this is everything okay with your food? Oh, sorry, is everything okay with your stay? Or just food on the brain. Is everything okay with your stay? And you were like, yeah, it's perfect. And then you tried the shower and it was leaking.
Yeah.
You'd have no
But
problem.
you couldn't complain about the check-in process, the cleanliness. You couldn't...
But you know what's more likely? It's more likely just a little thing that's not enough to complain about. So it's more likely they're going to say something like, oh, how'd you get the TV on? And you can explain it to them, or how do you whatever? Sorry, yeah, I did. We didn't know. Is there a shop near? So, I don't know. It's just something. I think, Jason, if you're listening, I think it's a brilliant idea.
And I take it back from my original.
But I do also agree with you
Because I thought it was someone turning up at the door, and I just thought I personally would hate that. That would do my head
You know
in.
what I also like about it? I've talked about this before on the show, but the number one factor in how much a guest enjoys their stay is a good check-in process.
Yes.
That's the number one factor. So if there's anything that's gone wrong with the check-in process, if you can correct it within those first 2 hours, I love that. Almost that tip, almost as much as getting the cleaners to film.
Ah, there you go.
It's up there.
Yeah.
It is up there. I guarantee you, if you start doing this, you will get better reviews because you'll nip the problems. You'll nip the problems.
Are we going to start doing this then?
I think we should start doing it.
Yeah.
Also, if you're going to do a text, you don't even need to actually do it.
Yeah. Because he said that like he gets someone, it's not him personally ringing.
Yeah. You could get someone to ring.
But
We could
I actually
experiment.
think a text is less intrusive, yeah. Because I also don't want a phone call, really.
No, I don't particularly want a phone call.
Like you just arrived on holiday and now you're getting a phone call. Like
I'd rather have a text.
because then the chances are I'd just put back, yeah, good. Like
Yeah.
and I can
Nothing.
Or nothing. But I can quickly just be like, yeah, cool, great. Unless there actually was a problem.
Is there anything else I can help?
I like the idea.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt myself, but if you've ever wondered how some investors can earn up to £1 million a year and pay zero tax totally legally, I'm running a completely free 1 hour webinar where I'll be teaching exactly that. The link will be in the description. All right, back to me talking again. So I've had this comment coming in from Duan. He said, I was in a similar situation, but my guest complained straight to booking.com.
Oh, how annoying. I hate that. See, if you'd done what Jason said, that wouldn't have happened.
It wouldn't if he'd rang up.
Yeah.
See, that tip, it's the tip that keeps on giving. There were empty boxes scattered around the property. And if he'd done the cleaner hack, he wouldn't have had a problem. And they were also saying the street was dirty. Well, there's not a lot you could do about that. They wanted a refund. They did complain to booking.com, but I went the next morning, provided pictures, and booking.com ruled in my favour. Okay, so he kind of got the evidence afterwards, which I suppose you can do, but it's possible the guest could say, oh, but I then cleaned it up. But he won this case anyway, but he had to drive to the property. Now for us, We've got probably like Willingham House, our hotel, is a 2-hour drive. It's a 4-hour round trip.
Yeah, it's almost not going to be worth the one night fee from someone. It might as well just go, yeah, fine, have your money back. It's not going to be worth the trip
Whereas
over
if you did
there.
the cleaner hack, but again, both those cases, so he did manage to get around it, but it just shows people go to booking.com. I suppose it just shows the importance, really, of those 2 tips.
Oh, and yeah, it does. I've just seen the comment from Adam, and he's totally right, but it's the world we live in. He's put absolutely appalling. It's even needed. If there is a genuine problem, just say. If not, just say thank you. Yes, in an ideal world, that would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, in an ideal world where we don't have thieves.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's a bit like those people that get have a minor car crash and then claim whiplash.
Yeah.
People will take advantage. If they think they can, people will take advantage.
Oh, I've got a great story about this. I don't know if it's the time and the place on the podcast. It also makes car claim companies look awful.
Go on then.
So we had just had our first Mercedes, and the kids were only really little, and we were parked on the Tesco car park in Lichfield when we used to live there, and literally we're parked up. You ran in. This driver was going to park next to us, and I was literally sitting in the car, and as she was pulling in, the car she was driving was battered, right? And I thought, oh, I never like that when a battered car that's already dented is pulling in next to you, because you think, oh, and she just hit into the side of the car, like really slowly, but just went, Bleh. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? So she parked up, I like opened the car door and was like, and she went, oh, did I hit you there? And I was like, yes. Like, what? And she went, oh, it's the 3rd accident I've had this week. And I was just like, maybe you shouldn't be driving. So anyway, we exchanged details. I was just like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, our car got fixed. It was like, literally, she was parking, we were stationary.
Yeah.
Right. Our kids were in the car. They didn't even notice the car had been hit. Anyway, so it'd gone through our insurance, blah, 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 blah. Then I get a phone call. Oh, we've actually got £3,000 you can have for the accident you had. And I was like, well, what accident? And they were like, do you know the one on the Tesco's car park? And I was like, well, why would I be getting £3,000 for that? The car got fixed. And they were like, wow, she claimed, right, injury costs. So, and they put £3,000 aside for her, for whiplash, right? Until they realised she was the person who had caused the accident, so didn't cash the £3,000 out. And they were like, the last minute, we realised she was the person that caused the accident, so she couldn't have the £3,000. And I was like, right, and they were like, so you can have it. And I was like, oh, nice one. I was like, cool. And they were like, so you had whiplash then? And I was like, no. And they were like, did you have whiplash though? You know, did you have a little pain in your neck after the accident? And I was like, no. And they were like, I'm sure, did you just have a headache or something? And I was like, no. And they were like, right.
They're trying to get you to admit to some sort of injury.
They have called me. It's about 6 years on, and I still get phone calls about it because that £3,000 is sitting there. And they try, and once I thought, do you know what? Fine. Yeah, I did. If I said, yeah, I had a headache. And then they were like, okay, brilliant. We're just going to put you on to the solicitors and you've just got to sign. And I thought, there is no way I'm legally signing.
To lie.
Now, when they ring me, I go, oh, are you suggesting I lie? And then they go, well, no. And I'm thinking, that is exactly what you're trying to get me to do, lie, to get the £3,000. And I think that just shows it's disgusting. They just want people. That's why everyone claims. But my point is, that's why everyone claims they've got whiplash. Because I could, if I just lied and said I had whiplash in that accident, we'd get £3,000 in our bank like that. I've just got to lie on record to the solicitors and say I had whiplash. But that goes against what I believe in.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But that shows why everyone does it. Because
and it's the same principle, other than you haven't got companies trying to help them lie about this. But it's the same. People are thinking, I could get a free stay here.
Yeah.
If I ring up and say it's...
But Booking.com
if they
are helping
keep doing
them.
that, Booking.com are
enabling them to do it.
Interestingly, on the other point, Kyle says, I do the same, but when I'm the guest... Because you never know if someone will try it on with your deposit.
Oh,
so
okay.
it was when he leaves, he does a video to show how he's left the property. Because in the same way that...
Do you pay a deposit at booking.com?
Sometimes you do.
I don't think I ever have.
Airbnb.
Oh, okay. I always use booking.com.
Yeah.
Sorry, Airbnb. But I will book everything through booking.com. Oh, do you? You have to pay a deposit?
Yeah, sometimes you have to pay a deposit. Or put a car...
I know you do it for like dogs. If you take pets and stuff, you have to pay.
No,
more.
sometimes you always have to. Or if you put down...
Sometimes you always have to.
Sometimes you always have to. Sometimes. Worst sentence of all time right there. No, sometimes what I was going to say was, I switched what I was going to say. Do you know how you always put a card down?
Yeah.
Like when you go to a hotel.
Oh, yeah.
And then they can charge it, can't they?
Yes.
So I suppose that's sort of similar. If they claim there were damage, what would you... Let's say that we just came back from Croatia, right? We stayed in a hotel. They've got our card on file. We left the room. If they said, oh, you did X, Y, and Z...
Can they just charge the card?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't actually realise that.
So if you took a video to show, oh, no, this was the... No, I didn't. Look, here's the state of the room. You could even do it in the minibar. Here's how I left the minibar.
Yeah, because that's a big one. We've had that where they've argued what's being taken from the minibar. I have had that. So actually that is quite a good point, because if you could... Because what they tend to do is the minibar, like especially if you're there for a while, the cleaners just stock it back up, don't they? And then you're relying on the cleaner from the hotel room telling them what they've had to restock, and that can be a dodgy one.
The other thing that I think is a bit dodgy, it probably isn't dodgy, but it feels it. Do you know when like you stay somewhere and you keep putting stuff on the room?
Yeah.
Because then how can you remember?
Yeah.
So what did I put on the room? I don't know.
Do you know, I've just thought of a time that if we'd taken photos would have been amazing, because we actually got a mark against us on booking.com, but as the guest. Remember in Germany years ago? And oh my goodness.
Airbnb, that was.
Was it Airbnb? My goodness. I kept that place spotless. We had 2 really young children. I remember making sure the bins were always emptied. And he gave us a really bad review, didn't he?
For not emptying the bins outside.
So we put the rubbish in the bin outside.
Yeah.
But did he say we'd put too much in it or something?
No, you haven't emptied. We just filled up the bins in the house. We didn't put them in the wheelie bin.
No, we did.
No.
Did
We
we not?
The kitchen bin, we put rubbish in the kitchen bin, but we didn't take the black bags out and put it in the wheelie bin.
And he
gave us a 1-star review because of it. The rest of the house is... And it's
spotless.
Like,
and I'm like...
I understand if we left it all over the kitchen and putting it in the bin. It's ridiculous. So what would you say then, with all this in mind, when a guest complains, obviously you want to get your evidence, but what would you say? You get a phone call from a guest. Any top tips on how to deal with a complaint? Because I do think a lot of companies are pretty bad at dealing with complaints.
I do think you should always stay calm and listen. A lot of people just want to be heard, don't they?
Yeah.
So actually, just speaking to them and going, I do apologise that you've struggled to find the key, or actually makes them all like, it's all right. Don't worry. Like, actually, just feeling like you've been listened to calms a lot of people down. Yeah. So, like, if you start being argumentative from the off, I think
so
that
annoying.
Will just go totally against you. Even if you're in the right and it proves that they've been lying, that is never going to end well.
No.
So my biggest tip would be...
I don't think, as well, you need to... Interestingly, I agree with everything you're saying. I think when someone complains, you don't even need... You kind of feel like you've got to answer them.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to.
No.
I think you can literally just say, I'm really sorry to hear that. And then just let them talk.
Yeah.
You don't have to justify it. You don't have to say, the reason is because it's just annoying.
Yeah.
If they justify it or argue, or it's really infuriating, you're right. They just want to be heard. So if you just say, I'm really sorry to hear that. You feel like that's not an answer. It's like, I haven't answered their question. I haven't come up with a solution. I haven't solved it. I've just listened.
Yeah. And I reckoned 70, 80%, that would work. Not actually doing anything, just listening and going, sorry to hear that. And I think that would solve most of it. Then for the other 20%, where there's actually a genuine problem, where the cleaner genuinely hasn't been in, then you'll then go and ask the cleaner, make sure they're telling the truth. Because sometimes it is genuinely our fault the cleaner hasn't been in. Oh my gosh. And then obviously you then would apologise.
The other thing I would do is ask for evidence.
Yeah.
But not in a way that sounds like you don't believe them. Because if you ring me up and you say, I'm really unhappy with the house is disgusting.
And you're
it's
like,
total mess.
prove
And
it.
I go, send me some pictures then.
Yeah.
It's like, you're the one that's left it in a state. If you say, I'm really sorry to hear that. Really sorry to hear that. Listen, I'm going to take it up with the cleaner. Could you send me over some pictures of the worst bits so I can share it with the cleaner and show them what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Suddenly, it's very different from, could you send me over some pictures to show me?
Yeah, you almost feel like then they're saying, come on, let's team up. We'll have a go at the cleaner about it.
Correct.
And they're like, yeah, well, I will. Like,
You want to act like the middleman.
yeah.
100%.
I also think something you do really well, and I'm saying you because you deal with a lot of the people that go in and out. If there is, so on the odd time we've spoken about already on the podcast where like there was once where the cleaner didn't go in, and I think the way you handle it then, so when you think, oh no, this actually, the cleaner didn't go in, you always say to them very calmly, what can I do to make this
That is right.
right? Now, I think when you approach it like that and not like, well, the cleaner messed up, it's not my fault. They then become more reasonable. And then I think they almost feel bad asking for something unreasonable because when they're annoyed, then people start just spouting off loads of unreason. Well, I want a full refund. I want you to put me up in a hotel. I'm going to write a bad review on booking.com. I'm going to tell everyone how, and they get outrageously unreasonable. But I think if you go, now, I'm so sorry, totally our fault. How can we make this right for you? And we had it once, didn't we? Someone went in for a week and it hadn't been cleaned and it genuinely was. And you said, how can we make this right? And we were thinking, oh no, we've lost the week's booking. And she went, if you pay for me to stay in the local travel lodge tonight, I'll come back tomorrow when it's
That was when
cleaned.
the boiler broke.
Oh, okay, the boiler broke.
So it was freezing. It was in the
Yeah.
winter, the boiler broke, freezing. And she said, yeah, she already looked. She knew exactly what she wanted.
Yeah.
She goes, I've already looked. There's a Premier Inn down the road. It's 75 quid. If you get the boiler fixed tomorrow and give me 75 quid refund to go and stay in that Premier Inn tonight, then I'll come back tomorrow.
And actually, that's really reasonable on her part because actually arriving, having to have loads of phone calls, moving out to the Premier Inn and only getting a refund of the price it exactly costs to be in the Premier Inn to then move back is actually really reasonable on her part because actually you might think, well, I want a bit of extra for my time and effort.
Yeah.
But I think when you handle it like that, they suddenly, now not everyone, because some people are just out to be right ones, but most people become very reasonable and like that is we couldn't do more because unfortunately the boiler broke, but she suddenly became really reasonable because she could have clearly asked for more.
Yeah. And do you know what's interesting as well? When you do that, it actually increases the customer loyalty.
Yeah.
So she'll be happier now.
Yeah.
Because we've done what she asked. Because we had a problem. It's not our fault. The boiler broke. What can we do?
Yeah.
Nothing we can do about that. It's just one of those things. Because we then listened to her, empathised, understood, and did what she asked and gave her the 75 quid, she now thinks, they're really nice, those guys.
And I
she
know
also
if I
knows
go and there's a problem,
they'll sort it for me.
Because it's kind of like some people come in really aggressive sometimes because they're trying to prove a point because they're scared you actually won't do anything.
Yeah.
So you go full force because you're like, they need to listen to me. The boiler's not working. They must give me a refund. They must house me. But the minute you show that is actually what you're going to do, they relax and think, oh, okay, I am going to be okay. They are going to look after me. And I think that's what most people, obviously, you do get the out there ones that are just after anything and are just unreasonable. But those people will be unreasonable come what may. So there's the 5% that you're never going to please and they'll still be unreasonable. And
if they suggest something that I don't agree with, so let's say, for example, they ring me up and the boiler's broke and they're like, I want a full refund for the whole week, but I want to stay here still. Because for example, I would then say, okay, I said, let me talk to, and I'll say you. So always have a partner that you can speak to. So it's like you're not the total decision maker. So suddenly you've took the power off yourself in a way, but that's actually a good thing when you're negotiating a refund. Totally understand. Let me have a chat to my partner and see what we can do. Do you think if we can get it fixed tomorrow, for example, do you think that is a fair compromise from both sides? Do you think that's fair? It's very hard to say, yes, I think it's fair from both sides. But if they do, I think it's fair. I go, okay, let me speak to them. And then I'd come back with something that I thought was fair. So I've spoken to them.
We'll
what
refund
we
you for
think
the
is best.
days
Exactly.
where the boiler's not on.
Yeah.
And if the boiler stays off all week, then by all means stay in there free
Yeah.
of charge all week. But the minute we get the boiler back on, we will require the payment for staying.
Exactly. That's what I would say in that situation. So hope you guys found that useful. It's a very interesting story. I'd love to know if you've had fake refund requests, if you've had guest complaints, how you deal with them, what you think of the way we deal with them. Do you think you could deal with it better? Drop it in the comments below. Maybe we'll talk about them on next week's show. Right, it's now time for this. Okay, so in the news this week, the government have just released a press release that is going to massively help property developers. So this could be, it's brand new news, so we'll have to see how it actually transpires, but this could be unbelievably exciting news for property developers.
So it's over 500,000 homes to be built through the new National Housing Bank. 16 billion of new public investment will help build over 500,000 new homes, unlocking over 53 billion of private investment as part of the government's plan for change. This is exciting. And
This is very exciting.
literally hit the news a day ago.
I am very excited about this. So basically, it's access to low-cost capitals. At the moment, you've got bridging finance, which is very expensive. We've got the costs rising up. So I know loads of developers who are stalling on projects right now because they stacked 2 years ago when they bought it, and now they don't because of the rising costs. So the fact that they're looking to lend £16 billion to developers at a low interest rate, I want to see what those rates are. Because it might be, low interest rate. Yeah, it's still 11% or 10%. And we only loan 50%. I don't know. I don't know what the figures are. But it sounds very exciting. So here are some of the things that they're saying in the article. They're going to unlock pipeline through guarantees. So they're spending $3 billion in scheme guarantees to encourage SMEs, build-to-rent builders to take on projects that previously were too risky. That is super exciting because there's so many schemes right now for developers that just don't make sense to build, which is a shame because we've got a housing crisis and we can do building it. So if they can make those unviable schemes viable, I'm super excited about that.
And then the next one, the planning reform, faster permissions.
We've been crying out for faster permissions. It's a joke how slow it takes.
They're reducing the red tape, especially on brownfield and grey belt land. And then so it will increase the feasibility and speed of turning around investments. My goodness, for developers, this is going to be unreal. Because the problem is, we've got land we sit on, and then it can take years to get planning through. And because the thing is, they need so many houses, but planning's so slow, it's just taking forever. This is so exciting because I can see now them just going, go for it. It seems like they're going to just, I read the article in full and they want 1.5. I know the title said 500,000, but the actual plan is 1.5 million homes they want to put up in the next 7 to 10 years.
Yeah. That's right. 5 years, isn't it?
No, I think 500,000.
Oh, they changed it. It was when they originally came in. It was 1.5 million in 5 years.
So I think that removing the red tape from development. Obviously, no, you can't suddenly go put a massive estate up in the national park. Yeah. But I think in certain areas they're just going to go. Go for it.
Well, one of the areas that they've talked about doing that for is that they're going to open up certain green belts. So we've talked about this for a while, but it's kind of now coming in. So green belt that is, let's say, they're calling it low quality green belt. So if you've got green belt land, but then there's a commercial unit sitting there that's dilapidated and whatever. Previously, it's like, well, it's not green belt. You can't develop that land. Oh, you used to have a petrol station. It's got oil tanks into the ground. Well, it's still green belt. Whereas now they're going, it's grey belt.
Yeah,
it's in greenbelt, but it's not very good land. Now that is going to open up masses of potential for new developments. So that is a great
one. I reckon, for developers, I bet they felt like Christmas had come.
Yeah.
When this press release got dropped a day ago, I bet they were just like, yes.
Yeah, and they've committed 39 billion over the next 10 years. To create a more stable pipeline for housing delivery. They're going to punish councils more for not hitting their targets, which is great news
Great,
for
because
developers as well.
Next minute, they're going to be letting everything through because they don't want to pay the fines for not.
Yeah. Home England is actively looking to partner with private developers and housing associations, opening doors to joint ventures, land deals, or design and build contracts. This is just, and then there's more. I mean, there's loads. There's loads of stuff in there. So check out the article. I'll put a link to the article actually on the link below. If you're a developer, this is super exciting. In fact, we need to go through this more and do a whole podcast.
Yeah, because I think this is almost too good just for the news bit, but it's good to get it out there.
Yeah.
Check out the article.
Yeah.
See what you think. But I think this is very exciting.
I agree, 100%. Well, guys, I'm Russell Leeds.
And I'm Anna Leeds.
We'll see you next time.